Have you ever stared into a mirror, wondering if somewhere out there is a version of you who made all the right choices? That's the kind of existential weight Limbus company thrives on. Recently, I played through Canto 8, where we dive into the story of Hongru, a tale that stuck with me for a very long time. And it got me into thinking about how Project Moon has built this intricate machine, each canto peeling back the mask of a sinner, revealing fragments of who they were, what they've become, and who they might have been in another world. The past clashes with the present as old friends and enemies meet again to settle their differences. The story being unraveled is a complex ball of dark fantasy wrapped in emotional drama. Such a narrative would not be possible without well-written, lovable characters to carry the weight of the storyline. I have grown to love a few of them more than others. Some have resonated with me deeply, others disturbed me in ways I did not even anticipate. In this video, I want to talk about a few of them. Not every one of them, because we would be here all week. And I want to compare them to figures from literature and history. Some of these comparisons might be very far-fetched for you, and if they are, that's not because I went crazy, it's just because you haven't read enough weird fiction. So before we start, here is your last and final and also the first spoiler warning for Limbus Company. Let us begin with the one who resonated with me the most. It is only right that the first character we discuss is also the first sinner, Sang. While I had some familiarity with most of the literary references sinners represented, I did not even know a single thing about the depresso espresso of the group. I will admit it. When I first encountered him, I had no idea who he was referencing. Just a sad, aloof genius mumbling poetic nothings. But when his canto was over, something lingered. I went digging and found that his real-life namesake, a Korean writer and architect, was just as tragic as the game character. Sang, the author, lived through the Japanese occupation of Korea. He worked as an architect for the imperial regime, helping erase his own culture's identity, and he was deeply troubled by this. In 1933, he was diagnosed with tuberculosis, and he dedicated the rest of his time to art. He opened up a cafe and became a prominent member of Guin-ho, also known as the League of Nine, a group of modernist Korean authors with revolutionary ideals. And excuse me if I butcher the pronunciation of this name, but Guin-ho at first was a group of anti-imperialist Korean writers, and they dedicated their work to modernist craft. The members of the League of Nine shared the same vision at first. However, some of them changed their ideals and views, and some of them even became imperialists. Eventually, some did sell out. Sang did not. The Guin-ho, or League of Nine, existed until 1937. It ended when the Second Sino-Japanese War started. Coincidentally, Sang passed away the same year, at just the age of 26. Despite this, he managed to write his most influential works during this time period, including The Crow's Eye View and The Wings. The Wings is a surreal, aching, short story about failure, delusions, and disillusionment. I have to say, The Wings is a very strong and emotional work on how life can be harsh and unforgiving, how the same situation can be seen from many different perspectives, and how dreams come crashing down when faced with reality. The story is told by a sickly man who is taken care of by a certain woman. The storyteller is slowly losing his touch with reality. As he gets worse and worse, His dreams of making the woman happy are being torn apart by the cruel reality of his condition. The end of the story is something that can be interpreted in many different ways. I strongly recommend you to read it for yourself, as it is a deeply personal and bittersweet short story. The game's Yi-Sang reflects this perfectly. In Limbus' company, Yi-Sang was part of the League of Nine, people with brilliant minds who dreamt of a better tomorrow, and in the end, they were forced to betray their own ideals. Some of them, including Yi-Sang, were forced to work for the very oppressive system they despised. He is the inventor of the mirror technology, a cursed tool that allows the company to reach across timelines into infinite realities.
우리는 야심가도 탐욕가도 아니며 그저 기술을 사랑했던 아이에 불과했지. 처음으로 우리가 숨을 쉰다고 느꼈던 그날을 기억하오. 그때는 말일세 그 숨만으로도 충분했었어. 아님 유독 그날만 공기가 맑았거나.
He gave the company the means to plunder potential and the weaponry to rival anyone. And in doing so, he cursed himself to witness versions of himself that did not sell their souls, that had wings, that flew. You might think he is the Oppenheimer of Limbus company, but he's more than a tragic genius. He's a mirror to anyone who's felt they were born too late or betrayed their younger self. And in his despair, I saw a reflection of mine. Yi-Sang's poetic, melancholic soul deeply resonated with me. As someone who ruminates on things and always ponders on what could have been and what is ideal, I deeply relate to Yi-Sang. We live in a world where freedom is never allowed. Sometimes I wonder if freedom is even real, or just a story we tell ourselves to feel better about choices that were never ours to begin with. Unfortunately, the most important decisions were made before us, and we are forced to live in this arbitrary world. We may advance, yet the squares on the board were all drawn by others. We may use our talents for good, and all the same we will be used for evil. Yet Yi-Sang tries. And like Yi-Sang, we also try. We create, we reflect. Even if it hurts, even if we cannot be our best selves, we still have to try. So we can look at ourselves in the mirror. Yi-Sang from Limbus Company is a reminder that if we keep trying, maybe God or fate will let us fly just once. I do not wish to spoil his Canto more than that, so you will have to experience yourself why his story is truly ideal. While for some people past can be melancholic and moody, for others it can be nothing but a source of blind obsession. If Yi-Sang is the mirror of lost potential, Ishmael is the harpoon of vengeance. And for people like that, only hope of better tomorrow can be a remedy. So let's talk about the character who exemplifies this to the utmost. Ishmael, the eighth Sine, the fish, the one and only redhead of the group. Her story is a study on what vengeance can do to a person, what defines absolute evil, and how hope can save someone from the depths of despair. She is a person who seems so reasonable, so logical, and so trustworthy at first. She starts off as the reliable one, calm, competent, and even noble. If you played through Limbus Company, looked at her and thought she is the only person that's normal, and later you found out that she is actually a raving mad sailor who is solely focused on her goal, and that realization left you dumbfounded, welcome to the Fish Club. She's based on the lone survivor of Moby-Dick, a character who watches madness consume a crew driven by revenge. But Project Moon flips the dynamic. This Ishmael isn't just the witness, she is also the Ahab. Beneath the facade is someone wholly consumed by vengeance. The only thing that kept her going when everything else was stripped away was vengeance. Her home, her dignity, her identity, it was all taken away. Ishmael passed on as a normal person for so long that we did not notice what she was. She's like Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, hiding the monster under an immaculate mask. Ishmael reminds me of Monte Cristo, sharpened by pain and focused on retribution.
How did I escape? With difficulty. How did I plan this moment? With pleasure. Let's just say it's vengeance for the life you stole from me.
In the original book, Ishmael survives the shipwreck caused by the whale. Technically, that's what happened with Ishmael of Limbus company as well. Yet what kept her going was not just the blind hatred boiling in her heart. She, at the core, was hoping for the one who caused all of this suffering to be alive and well, so she could be the one to inflict the final blow. We had clues of this from very early on in the game, yet when her mask began to slip, things got more intense than ever. The contrast from before, where Heathcliff was antagonizing Ishmael in Canto 1, and how Ishmael almost bashed his head in with a mace later when she was done pretending to be a reasonable person, set the mood for what was to come.
찾았다! 노잡이! 대답해! 노잡은 놈들! 목표는 저 흰 것이다! 정략으로! 노잡이! 덕분에! 반갑다! 이 빌어먹을 고래 새끼야! Curse you, Bale! Let your lungs with blood and thunder when you see the white world. Break your past and crack your horsemen if you wish to breathe hell. This ivory leg is what propels me.
For a second, imagine that someone took everything from you. They took your wealth, your status, your freedom, your friends, and even your family from you. They disrespected you and they manipulated you, and once they were done toying with you, they threw you out like garbage. And what would you do to this person if you had the opportunity? Would you not seek retribution? And let me rephrase the question. To what lengths would you go to make sure that person felt the pain they deserved? Would you be able to endure a brutal journey through Inferno? Would you be able to survive on crumbs, withstand death multiple times, and keep coming back even if someone as imposing as Big Brother of the Middle was after your life? Is it the insatiable desire for revenge that kept her going, or was it simply something else? What matters is that she kept herself sharp, always ready, calculated and cool until the time came. There is a great parallel in Hajime no Ippo, a great boxing anime. In a certain arc, Takamura experiences excruciating pain while cutting weight and making sure he's ready for his next fight. He keeps on pushing and pushing himself, and there is just one thing on his mind: to beat his opponent to pulp. A man who hit his coach, who insulted his people and disrespected him. This was just a single arc in the story. Just one storyline in the life of the boxer that maybe lasted a few weeks. Now imagine living like that, with extreme diligence and hatred for years. In ancient China, there was a king, Goijian of Yue. He was defeated by the kingdom of Wu and humiliated, forced to live as a servant for 3 years. Yet this monarch never forgot his humiliation. He swore revenge. He reminded himself of the humiliation for 10 years. Even as he ruled Yue as a monarch, he did not relish in his riches or wealth. Instead, he tasted gall every day. To never lose focus on what he went through, he pushed himself. What's interesting is that his sword was found to be razor sharp even after 2,000 years. Not that it should come as a surprise that he would keep his blade sharp. The same is true for Ishmael. Her singular focus makes her who she is, much like the ancient king of Yue or Monte Cristo. For Ishmael, vengeance was her entire life, her entire reason for existence. But can someone like that ever hope to lead a decent life? This is the type of dedication of one's life to vengeance that can be hurtful. It hurt Monte Cristo, it hurt many others, and it did hurt Ishmael as well. She almost killed Dante when she stood between her and someone who she deemed worthy of death. Vengeance can make us lose track of things, and we might end up bringing pain to ones we care about. A parallel in media for me is Roy Mustang from Full Metal Alchemist, who was saved by his friends from that fate. Justice is very important, and revenge sometimes can be justified, but it is very important to not lose ourselves in the process. Becoming what you despise is not the way to go about things. Just like Monte Cristo's thirst for vengeance hurt innocence, Ishmael could have done something irreversible. Yet there is a reason why Ishmael represents hope for me, and not vengeance. Someone who perseveres despite all odds, makes it out of the jaws of the whale, makes it to the shore, and instead of giving up, joins a company bound for hell just to reach her goal. This is an admirable quality. Hope kept her going. She never once backed down, even against overwhelming odds. Even if such a hope can be a delusion, even as she was blamed for the faults of others, Ishmael kept going, kept fighting, and she never let her harpoon grow dull. It's why I find her so compelling. She teaches us that obsession might carry us through trauma, but it also can make us cruel. She is both hope and hatred walking in the same shoes. At the pinnacle of her story, she hunts down the one who took everything from her. Their showdown being one of the most epic battles in the history of Limbus Company. I do not wish to discuss the ending of her Canto, and I'll say that her story was one of the best ones crafted by Project Moon. Limbus Company doesn't just tell stories, it dissects human soul. It asks us, who would you become if your life shattered, if your ideals were sold back to you as weapons, if your only comfort was the reflection of a life you will never have. Sang stares into a mirror and sees a better self. Ishmael drives into abyss, convinced there is justice in the depths. Neither are villains and neither are heroes. They're just sinners. And that's why I like them so much. Yet they are just 2 out of many. I would love to discuss each and every sinner in depth in one video, but it would take too much time, and instead of that I can only do that for some. For the rest, here is my attempt to describe every sinner from Limbus Company with a single word. Sang, Mirror, Faust, a deal, Don Quixote, a dream, Ryoshu, massacre, Meursault, outcast, Honglu, smile, Heathcliff, loss, Ishmael, hope, Rodion, regret, Sinclair, growth, Otis, war, Gregor, trauma. In the next video, I will show you why Canto 7 is better than anything Netflix has put out in recent 5 years. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep your mirrors clean. You will never know who's staring back.